I want to welcome everybody to Iowa postgame here from the Hawkeye of the Storm. Great night to be talking Iowa Hawkeye basketball as the Hawkeye women advance to the Elite Eight for the first time since 2019. And we've got a very special guest joining our show this evening, former Hawkeye Tania Davis. How are you doing, Tania?
I'm good. How about yourself?
Oh, you can't ask me at a better time. What a great win tonight. And we're going to get into the nitty gritty of this one and just what it feels like from your perspective to be able to watch this team get back to a place that you saw just a few years back. But can you, first of all, thank you for being here. All right. Appreciate you doing this. And I know you're busy. You're a coach. Talk a little bit about, for people who don't know, your career, your coaching career, where you're at now, and give us the lowdown.
Well, first of all, thanks for having me. Appreciate it. Appreciate the opportunity to be on here and talk Iowa hoops. So now I'm currently an assistant coach at Nebraska Omaha. Just finished my second season, headed into my third. And I love it. Like, I never realized that after basketball, like, I always thought that I would be playing basketball. I never realized or thought about coaching. And so, just being able to be on the other side of things, I mean, I see things like completely differently. So, like I said, never really thought that I'd be a coach, but I'm here now and I absolutely love it. My 2 years here have been great. Such a great learning experience for me. And I'm close to Iowa City. So to be able to root for my Hawks and be, just a short drive away it's always a plus for me.
Is this I know the transfer portal and recruiting, it never stops. And especially now with the transfer portal, I mean, you jumped into coaching at a time where that thing was taken off and it continues to take off. It doesn't show any signs of slowing down. So like, what's your March like? I mean, it's gotta be different than had you been in this position a few years back.
Man, my March is completely different. Like you mentioned with the transfer portal and, kids being able to, go wherever now. So now it's just I get to the office at 9 and I'm on the transfer portal all day. Take a break, take an hour break, do a workout, come back, get back on the transfer portal, make a couple calls, AAU coaches, to kids that are in the portal while they're going in between class. So my March is completely different. If I have the opportunity to get out, I'll try to go to some games. But for the most part, my March is completely different as opposed to being in the jersey. Like I'm on the phone trying to get kids in the jersey to play for me. So like you said, the transfer portal, that thing is like, it was taken off as soon as I started becoming a coach, but now it's just like, it's accelerating. It's speeding up. And I promise you, it's like every time I hit my refresh button, there's another like 10 kids in the portal. So, just trying to stay up on that and keep up with that. And just like I said, just checking that portal every opportunity that I get.
So, Tania, what's it feel like? I mean, we just talked about this before we jumped on live here, and we're going to, again, dive into the nitty-gritty of this 10-point victory over the Colorado Buffs here in a second that, of course, vaults Iowa to the Elite Eight there in Seattle. But talk about what it feels like from your perspective. I know your life has changed immensely. We just ran through that. Talk about what it feels like to watch Lisa Bluter and this staff lead another team to the Elite Eight.
Man, I'm so happy for the staff. So happy for the staff. Just knowing, everything that they put into this, from Coach Bluter, Coach Fitz, Coach Jay, Coach Raina, Coach Abby, that entire coaching staff, they put their heart and soul into Iowa women's basketball. And just to see them go off to another Elite Eight, I know when I was a player, that was my whole goal for them. They never been to the Elite Eight. So my entire career, I was trying to get them to the Elite Eight. And so just to see them get back to the Elite Eight, I'm so happy for them. I'm really rooting for them to get to the Final Four now, and do big things, which I think they will. But just watching them, I'm so excited. Now that I'm a coach, I get the opportunity to pick their brain a little bit more as opposed to when I was a player. But it's really exciting to watch them. I love those guys, and I'm so happy for them.
I want to talk about. Let's talk about Caitlin Clark first. I don't know how you can't talk about Iowa women's basketball without first talking about Caitlin Clark, who has become the face of college basketball as a whole, both the men and the women. I mean, she's obviously taken the world by storm. What a night for Caitlin tonight. 31 points. Talk about showing up. 11 of 22 from the field, made 4 threes to go along with 8 assists. I talked about this the other night tonight. It seems to me, and this is not a diss on last year's squad or teams in prior years, it does appear to me that this team, and if it's maybe a mental thing or it's just a chip on the shoulder, it seems like this team handles physicality better than the team did last year. And I would give Lisa Bluter and the staff credit for that. We've seen Iowa in recent years, even last year, as a loaded squad last year, struggle when you go up against long, athletic, physical opponents. And we've seen Iowa go up really against 3 physical opponents in this tournament. Southeastern Louisiana, I know they're overmatched, but they play physical brand of basketball. Georgia's physical. You got Colorado with lots of length. They play physical. They force a lot of turnovers. They're aggressive defensively. And Iowa, I'm not saying that these have been easy wins, but these have been somewhat routine. Talk about what you see. Am I on the right track there?
No, I definitely think you're on the right track. It kind of is routine just watching it. And like you said, I definitely think that they're able to handle that physicality a little bit better, especially as opposed to last year. I think that personally that starts from the top, just being a spectator now. I think that comes from the top. That comes from Lisa Bluter. I think that last year getting booted by Creighton in the second round in front of a sold out Carver Hawkeye arena, like that in itself, that puts a chip on your shoulder. And so I feel like it's to the point where Coach Bluter is like, no, I'm not going down without a fight. No, we're always going to fight. This is what we're going to do. And so when your head coach has that mentality, it has nothing to do but to trickle down to the players. And Caitlin is embracing that. Monica is embracing that. That physicality. You see them all the time going into the paint and accepting that challenge, accepting that physicality, and going up strong, going to the free throw line, or whatever the case may be. But I definitely think that this team has for sure embraced that challenge, embraced the physicality, and they consistently find ways to win games. They're not when they get into close games with those bigger, longer, maybe faster teams than them, they don't shut down. They don't shut down completely. They find a way to come together, rally around each other, and they just find a way to win. And so I definitely think that is one huge difference for this year's team as opposed to last year's team, for sure.
Talk a little bit about the challenge that is going up against specifically Vonleh and Quay Miller, obviously both very long. And when you Hannah Stolke, who obviously is not 100% right now. And then you have Monica Sonano, who's in foul trouble. I didn't think Addison O'Grady was great, but she didn't need to be great.
No.
She held her own, and I give this entire team a lot of credit for being able to deal with all those circumstances, because again, if there's a team you're going to have problems when Sonano's in foul trouble, when Stolke's hurt, it's probably going to be a team like the Colorado that just throws a lot of size at you, but Iowa down low.
Right, absolutely. And credit to Coach J, the post whisperer herself. Having those other posts outside of Monica ready, like the Maddie O'Grady's, like the Hannah Stolke's. Those are kids that, honestly, in my opinion, you put them on another college team right now, they're starting. You see what I'm saying? And so, for them to come in and play big minutes like that against that type of physicality, those bigs, like, it's just, one, it's a testament to Coach J and her development. Two, it's a testament to Monica and her leadership Just their confidence with those post players. Like you said, they're bigger, they're longer. And so, obviously I play with Megan. And so just watching her development, just watching how Coach Jay taught her, our post players, they don't dribble the ball. Like, that may sound crazy to some, but it works for Iowa post players. And so, just to be able to get that deep positioning that they do all the time, I think that definitely helps take away some of the length factor from Colorado. Because Hannah Stolke, Monica Sonano, they get those deep seals, then post players, the longer physical post players, they have no chance at blocking a shot. They have no chance of stopping you without fouling. And so, like I said, huge testament, shout out to Coach Jay for her development, but a bigger shout out to Monica Sonano for her leadership, and just taking those post players under her wing.
We do have our first caller here. Let's get to our Iowa Smokehouse call-in line. Ryan is with us. Ryan, you're going to have to move over. There you go. Thank you. How you doing, Ryan?
Thank you, Corey. And Ms. Davis, man, it's so good to see you. You survived 2 major injuries, and seeing you wear Iowa gear, heck, I like your shirt a hell of a lot more than I like Corey's, and he looks fine. But just thank you so much for being here and taking the time.
Absolutely.
Couple questions. What's your opinion on the intentional foul on Vonleh, was her name, I think, with Gabby, that screen? Frankly, I think it should have just been a common foul. Am I wrong? I'm a big Hawkeye homer, as everyone here knows, but I really kind of had a problem with that call. I wanted your opinion on that.
No, I agree with you completely. I definitely thought it was just a common foul. I think that bigs get penalized a little too much in the college game. I think that was just a common foul. I feel like if I'm Gabby, I'm yelling at my post players because you got to call that screen, right? But I didn't think it was an intentional. I thought it was a common foul for sure.
I thought she got penalized for just being very much bigger.
Yeah.
Ryan, let me butt in here real quick. You coached the game, obviously, Tania. So I need to ask you a clarifying question that I don't understand about the women's game.
Yep.
Why the difference in language with the men's game when we in the NBA or in college? We have a flagrant 1, we have a flagrant 2. Why are we calling these intentional fouls in the women's game? And is there a difference then? Is there a difference between an intentional foul in the women's game and a flagrant foul in the men's game?
Honestly, I don't know why we're calling it like we have the different language. I couldn't even tell you that. But the more I watch the men's game and the more I watch the NBA, I think that there's not really much of a difference between a intentional and a flagrant 1 or a flagrant 2. I personally think that an intentional on the women's side is, that's a flagrant 2 or flagrant 3 in the NBA. I don't even know what they call it, but I don't know why we have that difference in the language. I really wish that it would all just be an intentional foul. But yeah.
Well, I guess the reason I ask is because, all these things are defined in the rule book, but when you think of what you're saying when you say a flagrant foul. So in essence, you're saying not only is it intentional, but it's also excessive. But when you're just calling it an intentional foul, which is what we're calling the Vonleh illegal screen. And for the record, it was an illegal screen. It was called an illegal screen
on
the floor, as we all know. And I'm with Ryan. I don't know that should have been upgraded, but if we're calling it intentional, and I understand the refs are looking at that and saying, well, she's leaning in. She sees Gabby Marshall coming. She's leaning in. But that's also part of the game. So I always wonder if the language of the call needs to be adjusted based upon – I don't know why why we have the difference in language. Maybe that has nothing to do with how the call is officiated. But I think it and now with replay and all these things, I'm not saying it's not good for the game, Tania, but your thoughts on replay? It just makes – I think it puts the officials in a more difficult position.
Yeah, well, obviously, I like the replay when it's favoring in my it's my favor. But I actually like the replay. I don't like when refs continuously go to the monitor. I don't like that because it slows down the play of the game. Which is, I mean, it's really hard for players to, stop, start, and just like get in the flow, if that's the case. But, going back to that intentional, flagrant, whatever we want to call it, like I said, I don't think that was an intentional or a flagrant. I feel like, yeah, if the referees want to go to the monitor, they can go to the monitor, but that is a quick decision. That's not like, I feel like the referees broke that all the way down. Like, yeah, she was leaning in. And I mean, as a player, you can't tell me just by looking at a replay that I intentionally was trying to hurt Gabby as I was setting the screen. Like, no, you can't tell me that. I was just moving, trying to get my teammate open. And so, I don't know. Personally, like I said, I like the replay for necessary situations, but like the constant going to the monitor and trying to get every single thing right, I don't think so. I think it just takes away from the excitement of the game, the fun, and most importantly, the flow of the game.
By the
You
way,
know,
it looked worse, Ryan, in full
Yeah,
speed. Like when you
yeah,
show it on full speed, it's like, oh, that looks bad. But
absolutely. Yeah.
I agree because of the way Gabby kind of flew, but
Mhm.
would the
6'8",
call have been different
Ryan.
if Monica or Warnock ran into her? I mean, that was just a big girl
Yeah, you're
who,
Yeah.
talking about a 6'4" player that's got what 8-9 inches on Gabby Marshall. I don't want
Yeah.
to guess how many pounds, but you're giving up a lot of size there, Ryan. So
Mhm.
I,
that's
I, I guess part of where I'm coming from, Corey, because this is going to be one of my points. If there's one thing about the girls' tournament that has been somewhat astonishing to me is, and it's not even so much the tournament. If you saw last night's WNIT game with Bowling Green
Yeah.
against Memphis,
Yeah.
some of these women are vicious, man. I mean, holy smokes. I don't see any. I mean, my God, it's like the men's tournament is child's play compared to some of these women. You saw in the Ohio State game, Caitlin getting thrown. You saw Gabby getting punched. You saw Caitlin getting cheap shotted with a second to go and the game out of reach. And you know, we already talked about this, Corey, how we kind of got to protect Caitlin here. I thought Colorado played a remarkably clean game. I don't think that was a dirty play whatsoever on Vonleh's part whatsoever. They're an awesome team who, it makes me feel even better that we beat them. My final question is, Tanya, if you can, okay, I know you're a coach now,
Mhm.
and so you're going to tell me right away, don't look past Louisville or Ole Miss.
Mhm.
I get that.
Mhm.
Totally get that. None of them have the equalizer we have in Caitlin Clark. She is someone who cannot be matched.
Yeah.
I mean, Iowa has lost 6 times this year, but
Mhm.
Caitlin Clark cannot be matched. So obviously, my question is, if we get the showdown in the Final Four with South Carolina,
Mhm.
how do we win? Can we win? I know they're extremely well coached and deep.
Mhm.
Aaliyah Boston, for all of her hype, is about a 13 point a game scorer. She's a
Mhm.
great player. She does a lot of other things, obviously.
Right.
How can we win that game if we get there?
Mhm.
Obviously, we got to get by Ole Miss and Louisville first.
Right.
Thank you so much for being here, and I'm gonna just listen to your answer. Thanks.
appreciate it.
That's a great question. As I watch South Carolina, I honestly think that, I mean, you have twin towers inside between Aaliyah Boston and Camila Cardoso. Like Camila Cardoso herself, she's what, 6'7". Um, no one on Iowa has like anything remotely close to that. And so, like I said, as I watch South Carolina, the more that I watch them, um, the more I realize they don't really have any outside shooting. And so if Iowa gets there, I would assume that Coach Bluter is definitely going to play 2-3, or triangle and two. Those are two defenses that we played a lot when I was there. I still see that they play the triangle and two now. But Coach Bluter and co, like they're not stupid. They understand numbers. They look at the numbers. And obviously, much respect to South Carolina. They're a great team, but I just don't think that they have the outside threat, the outside shooting. And so I definitely think that Bluter would definitely fall back into a zone on defense. Offensively, I mean, you got to do what you do. You can't go away from your bread and butter. You can't go away from Caitlin. You can't go away from Monica, even though, I mean, South Carolina, like I said, they have the Twin Towers inside and they have Bria Bill on the perimeter defending the opposing team's best player. So you just have to find a way, and I'm sure that Bluter and co, they'll definitely find a way to pick apart South Carolina's defense. But the first thing that came to mind when you asked that question was defense for me, and Bluter and co, Iowa in general, like they're just gonna go 2-3 zone or triangle and two for sure.
Iowa on the glass struggled early. There's no question. I mean, Colorado hung around in this game. It's 15-5 early. Iowa jumps on them. It looks like, okay, maybe it might be a routine Sweet 16 win. I guess we should never think that. But Colorado storms back, actually had the lead at halftime. A lot of that was done on the glass with second and third chance opportunities. And again, I understand that Iowa gives up something in size. But what you just talked about with South Carolina kind of leads me into this question. How does Iowa account, especially if Hannah Stolke is down or not 100%? How do you account for teams that just kill you on the glass?
I mean, Coach Bluter's one of her favorite words is rebound the basketball. Like I heard that so many times when I was, in an Iowa uniform. And so it's just everyone has to box out. Everyone has to crash. It's like the football team, they swarm, right? And so once you box out, everyone has to swarm the rebound. Like you can't play offense unless you have the ball. And so as soon as that shot goes up for South Carolina, everyone has to find a body. Everyone has to go crash the defensive glass, And then offensively, I mean, I would think that they probably crash Monica and send everybody back. Just knowing that you're probably not going to get those offensive rebounds. But that, to answer your question, is just everyone having that mindset of I'm not letting my player get the rebound, so I have to go hit her and I have to go get the ball. And so, like I said, Coach Bluter and co, they do a great job of harping on that and barking that throughout practices, throughout games. And so, it's just a individual mindset for sure.
Want to take a quick moment before we get to our next caller, and we'll continue with Coach Tania Davis. Want to take a moment to thank Iowa Smokehouse, our sponsor here from the Hawkeye of the Storm. They've been sponsoring March Madness coverage here on the channel. We appreciate Iowa Smokehouse. Show your appreciation for the show and to our sponsors by supporting them. Visit iowasmokehouse.com. Use that code Hawkeye for 15% off your order. They offer a full lineup, sure to satisfy you and your snacking needs. They've got beef jerky, awesome meat sticks, great quality stuff, folks. They've also got ketchups, barbecue sauces. Check out their wide array of products at iowasmokehouse.com. Tasting is believing with Iowa Smokehouse, and you'll get 15% off your order with that code Hawkeye. Also, $50 orders get free shipping, so get prepped. And, of course, you won't be able to get it. If you get your order in now, you won't be able to get it before Sunday. But you can also buy Iowa Smokehouse in your local grocery stores. So check it out and have it ready for the rest of the NCAA tournament. All right, tonight we're going to go to our Iowa Smokehouse call-in line, and you never know when people are calling our actual phone line who we're going to get. So we're going to try our best not to get any crazy calls. Let's go back to our Iowa Smokehouse call-in line. Thank you for calling Iowa Postgame here with Coach Tania Davis, who's on the line.
Hey, Corey. Hey, Coach Davis. It's the real MVP. How you two doing this evening?
We're good. How are you, sir?
How are you?
I'm doing great. First, Coach, thank you for doing this. And second, congrats on the win.
Thank you.
Yeah, so just to echo on what Corey was talking about, I've got the box score up from ESPN, and I was out-rebounded on the offensive glass 21-7.
Mm-hmm.
I know Iowa probably wants that to not be a 3-1 margin.
Yep.
So think Iowa did a lot of good things this game. I mean, they shot much better than Colorado from both the 3-point line and from 3-point and the 2-point line.
Yep.
How was it that Iowa was able to kind of combat the rebounds? Was it just adjustments or that they made? Because this game felt like a game of runs.
Yeah, it definitely was a game of runs. It was just adjustments. I feel like the first half, it was definitely a game of runs. But that third quarter, coming out of halftime, Iowa, they just took off. You know, they limited Colorado to one shot, and then they just got the rebound and they just went. You know, even if Colorado got a second shot or a third shot, they got the ball and they went and they scored in transition, forcing Colorado to obviously get back. You know, so that's one big thing that we definitely harp on at Iowa, and I saw it during the game today for sure. Is, you know, if Colorado wants to crash the glass aggressively, well, that means no one is back in transition. And so we have to get that rebound and we have to push and we have to go. And I think that's for, actually, I know for a fact that's how Iowa was able to create that separation, because once they got that rebound, whether it was the initial, the second or the third shot rebound, they got it and they pushed. And that's when you saw Caitlin take off. That's where you saw Caitlin throwing dimes to McKenna. That's when you saw Monica and, you know, things like that. And so, you know, Colorado, like I said, Colorado wanted to crash the glass, aggressively. And I'm sure Coach Bluter and, you know, the rest of the coaching staff obviously made that adjustment, let them know, hey, they're crashing the glass. That means no one's back. So let's get the board and let's run.
Just going to say,
okay, I know at the beginning. Oh, sorry, Corey.
No, I was going to say drill MVP real quick. I mentioned this earlier, and Tania brought it out. Offensive glass, Colorado's shooting people to the boards, and Iowa's got an opportunity in fast break. I will say Iowa actually pretty much battled Colorado even on the glass in the second half. So most of the damage was done in the first half. In the second half, 18-17 was the final here. I've finally got the official box score. So, like I say, I'm impressed with how they managed to even achieve the numbers they achieved here tonight on the glass, because again, of their size, of the foul issues, of the Hannah Stuelke situation. By the way, we'll get back to drill MVP. How important is Hannah Stuelke? I mean, obviously I said this 3 times. She's obviously not healthy right now.
Yeah.
So, I mean, what do you think is going through the mind of Coach Bluter right now, as far as when you roll her out there, even if she is 85-90%?
Yeah, I definitely think that Bluter, her mindset was to roll her out there today, but she just didn't look like, the game just looked like it was just too fast for her at that moment. I think you give Hannah a couple more days, whether she does actually enter the game against Louisville or Ole Miss. But if she doesn't, go ahead, rest her for the Final Four. But Hannah is a huge piece to this Iowa team right now. And she does a lot of great things. She runs the floor very well, rebounds the ball very well. She brings something to this team that honestly, and I love my girls to death, not a lot of them have, which is athleticism. And so, just the combat what Monica has. Monica is the big bruiser, the big post player inside, down low, seals and positions and go straight up. Whereas Hannah, okay, she can take you out. She can shoot the mid-range a little bit better. She can go on the perimeter and drive past your 5, or she can get the ball on the block and face up. So it's just a good contrast for this team. And like I said, she's very, very important. I think eventually you'll start to see her get a little bit more comfortable with this injury. And then you'll see Coach Bluter start to roll her out a little bit more.
And at some point, and I know I don't know where she's at percentage-wise, right, and how you even rate that. But as a competitor, Tania, you've been on the player side of it. You've been on the coaching side of it.
Yeah.
As a player, you have to, at some point, play through some pain, as long as you're not in great risk of re-injuring whatever it is. And I believe it's a rolled ankle, right? She rolled her ankle. So I understand that ankles can be nagging, and I don't know where hers is at, but you just wonder at some point if Lisa Bluter is going to say, okay, we're a competitor. We got to do this. As long as you're ready, let's go.
Yeah.
But the game, again, as you said, the game's running. She is a player. She runs like a deer.
Yeah.
I would assume an ankle is probably not the best thing for someone like her because it takes away the edge that she brings.
Absolutely. Like you said, it takes away what she does best, which is run, which is jump, get those rebounds, things like that. And one thing Coach Bluder is really, really good at is listening to her players. And so in my mind, what I think may be going on right now is Bluder's ready to roll her out, but I don't think Hannah just quite trusts being out there right now on that ankle just yet. And so if Hannah is not confident within herself right now, well, Bluder is not going to play her. That's why you see her go to a Maddie O'Grady. And Maddie O'Grady play as many minutes as she did. But I definitely think that as a competitor, I think the closer that you get to the Final Four and the possibility of getting to a Final Four and the national championship game, I think that just knowing Hannah the little bit that I do, you'll see her start to, okay, I have to tough this out for my teammates. And, you know, just knowing the Kate Martins, the Monica Sonanos, the Gabby Marshalls, you know, just knowing those guys, they're not going to push her, but they're going to obviously want her to come back because she's like we said, she's such a vital part to this team.
And I could be totally off on this. You may disagree, Tania. I cannot imagine Iowa really having a fighter's chance against South Carolina without her.
No.
I just think you give up so much athleticism,
not
to mention the length, but so much athleticism. And South Carolina is like a beefed up, roided up version of what these last three teams have been. So they need her back. Drill MVP, anything else?
I was just going to ask about the portal because I know it was brought up at the beginning of the show.
Mm-hmm.
This tournament as a whole has been one of the craziest women's tournaments probably in a while. You've got monster upsets. Like Miami's in the Elite Eight. Ole Miss can make the Elite Eight. Would you attribute these upsets to the portal kind of evening teams out and evening the talent across the board out?
Oh, absolutely. I definitely think so. Just because, like, you do have the North Carolina kids. Okay, now, you know, they made the tournament. They lost to Ohio State, I believe, last round. And so, you know, as I'm in the portal, I see some of these North Carolina kids in the portal, and, you know, I may or may not reach out to them, and I may or may not get a response. And so, you know, that just elevates our roster. You know, we go from a team full of mid-major kids, no disrespect to our kids, but, you know, that's what we are, a team full of mid-major kids to a team full of mid-major plus a BCS kid. And so her level of play that next year, that may attract some more BCS level kids. And so I definitely attest just the balance of the women's game this year to the portal for sure.
Oh yeah, it's been a great tournament. I mean, you've got amazing comebacks. You've had massive upsets. I mean, this has been a fantastic tournament. I'm hoping for the rest of the tournament's like it. I know Iowa doesn't want to take any of the damage, but honestly, this is a year where I think 6, 7, or even heck, all 8 of the Elite 8 teams can win it. And I just don't know the last time where I honestly thought that could be the case.
Yeah. I still have South Carolina definitely winning it, but I think that anyone can go to the Final Four for sure. Just because of that talent across the board. Like, I mean, we just talked about the portal, like Ole Miss, they get a lot of their kids out of the portal. Just a couple years ago, I'm not even sure if Ole Miss was even in the tournament. And so now they're in the Sweet 16. Like, yeah, we're definitely we're going to give that credit to the portal for sure. But, you know, it's like I just said, it's a lot of talent across the board. I feel like it's anyone's to get into the Final Four. Now, I definitely feel like South Carolina is going to take it home. I think they just have too much. They can come at you in too many different ways, small lineups, big lineups, medium lineups. And so I definitely think that they'll win it. But like you said, it's a lot of talent. It's even across the board. So it'll be exciting to see how the rest of this unfolds.
Oh, yeah, I would agree with you with South Carolina being the favorite, but I'm not sure if you watched them against USF, South Florida. I mean, the first half, it was questionable. They only led by 4 at half, so it's not like they're this invincible team like UConn was back in the mid-early 10s. I mean, they've shown some signs of weaknesses.
Then they proceeded
many,
to go on
but
like
some.
a 35-2 run. But yeah,
I understand, but they're mortal. They've shown that they're mortal.
They've showed some chinks.
Yeah. Yeah, they definitely have weaknesses. Every team has weaknesses. It's just a matter of, can the opposing team expose that weakness for a full 40 minutes? And I think that, in my opinion, I don't think so. And I think that South Carolina does a great job. Dawn Staley does a great job of exposing her opponent's weaknesses for a full 40 minutes. Like, they just wear on you for a full 40. And I think that's just where that comes from. I feel like the first half, they always, other teams always give them a good fight. And then they go into halftime. Dawn Staley makes those adjustments. And then it's just like, well, I turned on the game at halftime and it was 36-36. I go to the kitchen for 5 seconds. I come back. Now it's 50-36. Like, what just happened? So yeah.
It's a snowball.
Yeah, I can understand that. But thank you, Coach, for doing this. And thank you, Corey, for taking my call.
Yeah. Thanks, Absolutely. Really, appreciate it, sir. Yeah, good stuff. And I was going to ask you about that tonight. I don't know how much you watched the UCF, or it sounded like you did watch the USF and the South Carolina game. What did South Florida do to hang with the? Because I actually missed the first part of the game. I turned it on as they're like up 4, and then all of a sudden I see the 30-4 run. Yeah. So what did the Bulls do to keep it so close against South Carolina?
Yeah, honestly, I did not watch that game, but I know South Florida a little bit enough to know that they have a ton of smart, like, international kids. So smart, can stretch the floor. And they're just like, they're kind of like a Creighton in a sense. And so stretch the floor, just a lot of movement. And so that's what gets you with South Florida for sure. And so, as we know, like, playing against a Creighton, like, that takes some time to get adjusted to. Like, your 5-man is shooting threes and also driving by you. I'm not sure many 5-men in the SEC are doing that against Aaliyah Boston. I could be wrong. Someone's like, prove me wrong. I'm not 100% sure, but like, that's South Florida style. They run, they gun, and they just move, set screens, back doors. Like, you never know what's coming. And so, like, for a South Carolina who does not play against that style at all, against any SEC team for sure, like, that takes a little while to get used to. And like I said, once they went into that halftime, Dawn Staley made the adjustments, and then, everything else, like, it is just history.
All right, let's go back to our Iowa Smokehouse call-in line. Thank you for calling Iowa Postgame here with Coach Tania Davis. Who's on the line? All right, nobody there. Let's go to our next caller on our Iowa Smokehouse call-in line. Who's on the line?
Hey, Corey and Tania, this is John.
Hey, John.
Hey.
Tania, how do you, in a big game like this, how do you stay calm before the game so you don't get so jacked up and so nervous that you take yourself out of your own game from trying too hard?
Mm-hmm. I think personally, I always got nervous. I feel like if I never got nervous, then I wasn't necessarily ready for the game. I think one way that I always kept my nerves down, I love music. I love listening to music. So just listening to music. And then we always had the jokesters on the team. Mackenzie Meyer was for sure one of them. Chase Coley was one of them. And so they always, like, they knew how to keep the mood light. Coach Jay is another one. She always knows how to keep the mood light. And so, like, a big game like this, it really just, like, your competitive nature, your competitive instincts just kind of kick in. Once that ball goes up, you just realize, hey, like, it's just another basketball game, but it just has a little bit more pressure on it, win or go home type setting. But, everyone has their own thing. I know people who don't listen to music before games. I know people who just, read books before games. And so it's really just all personal preference. But what I've learned over the years is that people obviously is just going to go to what calms them and what settles them the most. And for me, it was always music.
Was there certain songs you had to listen to, or was it just music in general?
No, it was I always had to listen to a slow song, always, because I'd be so hyped up on my energy and the emotions and all of that. I always had to listen to a slow song, and then during warm-ups, whatever they're playing, whether it's a little bit more upbeat, anything like that. I know in the locker room, depending on who had the aux cord, sometimes it'd be country, sometimes it'll be little R&B, slow jams. Sometimes it'd be hip hop. But personally, I have to listen to R&B or something slow just to relax me.
All right. Well, thank you guys. Have a good night.
Thank you, John.
Thank you. You too.
All right. I want to acknowledge a couple of these comments in the chat here. So Kenton brings up Addison O'Grady, how she answered the call tonight. Brittany wants to talk about Molly Davis and how she was big in the 4 to 5 minute stretch where Caitlin was out. So Ryan Carper brings up Sydney Falter. Let's give a shout out to some of those, I guess what you call role players. All of those ladies coming off the bench. How big this is not a real deep roster. At least Lisa Bluter doesn't go real deep.
Right.
So talk about the performances of those 3 players.
Huge. Like Caitlin goes out with 2,000 first half, if I'm not mistaken, and Molly comes in and handles her own. I remember she drew a foul call, hit a floater on the left baseline, and so like those are things that obviously like those help win the game, and so none of this is possible without them first and foremost accepting their role. And so these are women who, they probably could, like I said, be on another team in college. Heck, Molly Davis was Central Michigan leading scorer, but she understands the moment. She understands who's on her roster, and she understands the what is going on, the situation. And so it's just those 3 pivotal, like great minutes. Play huge roles tonight. And in fact, they've really played huge roles all season. Been really proud with their production off the bench and, first and foremost, just accepting their role for sure.
All right, let's go back to our Iowa Smokehouse call-in line. James is on the line. How you doing, sir?
Hey, how you doing? First off, Tania, thank you for that's how you say it, right? Tania?
Yes. Yep, Tania. You got it.
That's how you thank you for being on here, and it was fun to watch you play. Second off, I'm a high school basketball coach on the men's side in state of Iowa, so I kind of see the game maybe not as different as you because you have more experience obviously being at college level, but I definitely see games differently too, so I kind of be yelling other stuff out as well. But one thing I think is cool is you coach at UNO, and one of the girls from my high school is on UNO, so that's kind of cool as well. But
who is it?
Brooklyn.
Oh, Brooke. Yeah.
Her mom was really good too. So
man, I've heard.
Her mom was crazy good.
Yeah, I've
heard
some
W for a while too. She was really good.
Yeah.
But anyways, I feel like this is a game that they needed to win because like you need games like this where you fight back and forth, and I feel like fighting back and forth is always a big thing where it's like my dad's always taught me this. He said basketball's a game of runs no matter which way you look at it. So it's all about how you defend the runs. And I feel like we defended the runs good enough. And it kind of scared me when we were down at half. I was like, I don't know how we're going to come out in the second half because Caitlin didn't look good for a little bit, but that might have been the foul trouble too. What do you think, Corey? You think that was just a foul trouble that kind of was why she?
Yeah, I definitely think it was the foul trouble. She just wasn't able to get into a rhythm. I think she started off the game brilliantly. Obviously there's a lot of attention on Caitlin, no matter who the opposing team is. Like Caitlin is the top of the scouting report for sure. And so I think she did a great job of, facilitating, trying to get her teammates involved. And then, by the time she started getting aggressive, the refs, start calling some crazy calls. And, that just kind of took her out of the flow of the game early. I think after halftime, obviously, now you only have 2 fouls. You can be a little bit more aggressive over the next 20-minute period. And so she took advantage of that early out of the halftime. And so she just took off.
For sure. One thing I have to say though is, what do you think about the defense in the first half? It kind of scared me too because number 3 just kept going off, and it seemed like they were over the screen, under the screen. Do you think they should have adjusted better? Do you think they did enough? She just was hitting shots, or how do you feel like?
No, I think that they definitely should have adjusted. I definitely think they should have adjusted. one thing Bluter does not like to do is burn timeouts in the first half, and so she allows her team to figure out what's going on within the game. And so I definitely feel like the players, first and foremost, should have adjusted, should have had a little bit more recognition of where she was, because I mean she had 19 first half points, if I'm not mistaken. And so I'm sure coming into the game she was labeled as a shooter, and in those moments, in those situations, you can't get caught ball watching. You can't get so focused on helping on the drive or anything like that. Like, if a kid is hot, you have to take that away and force somebody else to get hot. But I think the first half defense, it was a little too back and forth for me. I didn't like it just because we didn't buckle down and get consecutive stops. But eventually, I mean, it held us through to halftime, and then after that, obviously made the adjustments and went from there.
Rest of the team was 2 for 10 from 3 in the first half. Not a great 3-point shooting team. And, I'll be honest, I'm yelling at the TV thinking, identify shooters here, right?
Yes.
Foreman,
Yes.
really good shooter,
Yes.
demonstrated that, a low-scoring game against Duke. But it does appear to me tonight that at times this Iowa team, and it's kind of a similar problem, what I think is a big issue for a long time with Fran McCaffrey's teams, identifying shooters and identifying the hot man and making adjustments quick enough. Because this, right? You give a girl a wide open three or maybe 2 wide open threes, and all of a sudden someone, whether they had confidence before or not, now they've got confidence.
Absolutely.
It's okay, we're making an adjustment now, but it's too late.
Absolutely.
All right? The switch has flipped on, and now you're playing from behind, if you will.
Yep, absolutely. And I think a lot of that, obviously, coming from the coach's perspective, no, I don't really necessarily want to burn a timeout, but if I have to, I will. So as a player, like, I go back and forth, obviously, because I played for Bluter and now I'm coaching. And so it's just like players on the floor, they have to have that recognition. They have to understand that this is the hot man. I have to take her out some way, somehow, like force someone else. You just said the rest of the team was 2 for 10 from 3. So got to force someone else to have an impact, or even force her to put the ball on the ground and now become a driver.
Does anybody know, have we made it past the Elite Eight before? I'm not sure. I'm not that old, so I don't remember. Have we made it past the Elite Eight before?
Bluter has not. I know for a fact.
We as like a.
They have before. I don't know. I have to go back at go back and look at the record here. Games, but they have, but not under Lisa.
I just didn't know. It's just something to see, but it was a good game. It was fun to watch, and hopefully you can watch the one on Sunday tonight and maybe give us a little bit more, motivation to try to hopefully get a win here, because it'd be cool to go to the Final Four. I don't know if I've ever seen that in my lifetime, so I don't think I have seen that in my lifetime. So that would be a cool thing. And I appreciate you coming to Iowa. One more question: why Iowa? Since you're from Michigan, I'm always interested in these. Why people choose Iowa? Because me as an Iowa kid, obviously that's where I wanted to go, but like you from Michigan.
The family atmosphere. That's no joke. I know a lot of people will say, their program is family-like program, and they're a close-knit group, but Iowa is completely different. And I think you can see that when we go out there and we take the floor. Even this team now, like, you see how much joy and how much fun this team has together. And so that all starts off the court. And so the second that I stepped on campus for my official visit, like it was Sam Logic and Alexa Kostanek made me feel welcome from the second I got on campus. Chase Coley was my host. And so I never felt out of place. Everything was just, we did everything together. And so that's kind of hard to beat. Like, I couldn't imagine myself anywhere else. And then on top of that, like, they made my mother feel like welcome. And so I think that was definitely the biggest part in my decision, was just my mom feeling comfortable. Obviously, I was 7 hours away. And so if she's comfortable with me going here, then, Iowa, it is what it is. But like I said, that family atmosphere, like, that's second to none. It's a real thing, and it's very evident on the court.
Real quick, James, how old are you?
Same, 27. So I might be the same age as you, but
okay. So just no, the Iowa women have not been to a Final Four in your lifetime. Last time was under Vivian Stringer in 1993. So appreciate Evan Echoes bringing that up. 1993 is the last time this program made it to a Final Four.
I appreciate y'all, and tonight, good luck next year at UNO, and hopefully if you play Iowa this only time, I won't be rooting for you. But other than that, I'll be rooting for you the rest of the way. So
thank you, I appreciate it. Trying to get Iowa on the schedule. I'm trying to.
Yeah, how's that going?
Not well. But
why is that so hard?
I don't know. I don't know why we just won't make the trip over. I have no idea.
It's on the Nebraska Omaha administration. They have to be. I mean, it's a.
Yeah, it's kind of it's a process. So I'm not in charge of scheduling. I don't know what goes on. I know last year when I was at Iowa, Coach Abby, she asked if we would be interested, and so I brought it back, and the answer was no, not right now. So, but at the time we had Missouri on the list, we had Nebraska, and so we had already 2 Power 5 schools on the list, and so it was like, no, we're probably not going to play a third. So, but yeah. I'm trying every season.
How much do you stay in touch with that team? I mean, how much you stay in touch with Megan Gustafson and just everybody on well, you're a long time. How much do you stay in touch with your former teammates?
Yeah, a lot actually. So from time to time we'll text about the game. When I was watching the game, I saw Zion Sanders. She was at the game, and so gonna text her about that. But we talk a lot. Some of my former teammates, like I said, Zion is in the business. I know Kate wants to get in the business of coaching, and so talk about those things. But we just really talk about life, catching up with Megan as she's overseas, whether it's through text, FaceTime, or, now we have social media, Instagram, Twitter, those things like that. And so, we always catch up, happy birthdays, Merry Christmas, things like that. So, we're always talking, even though we're miles and miles away from each other.
CJ wants to know, what do you think about the Wilson basketballs? It's become a controversy on the men's side. And honestly, Tania, if you look at the scoring outputs for some of these women's games in this tournament, we're seeing like Michigan scored in the 40s and lost. We're seeing a lot of teams in the 40s and 50s.
Yeah.
And not quite as extreme in the men's game, but we've seen 3-point percentages way down.
Yeah.
That's a result of the basketball. Is it really the basketball being overinflated? Is it the gyms schools are playing in? What would you attribute it to?
Yeah. So, I mean, we play with those basketballs all the time, so I'm used to them by now, but I know when you get in the tournament like that, like switching the ball, I don't necessarily like. I think it needs to be something that, every team is different who they're sponsored by, Nike, Adidas, things like that. So the ball might be different in that aspect, but I don't think the Wilson I don't think it's a problem, just like I said, because we use it so much. So I'm used to them. But they do get overinflated a lot here at Nebraska Omaha. So that could be a problem. But I definitely think that the bigger gyms that definitely attributes to it. So it's like, let's say Iowa, for instance, like you only get one practice opportunity in the arena that they just played in Seattle. And so like that's completely different than playing in Carver. Like that's completely different than shooting on the rims that I'm completely used to. And so now, instead of having a week or a couple days in order to get adjusted and prepared for this new arena, now I only have the NCAA only gives you an hour, and then for shoot around you only have 30 minutes, so an hour and a half to really get adjusted for this obviously massive game that's going on. So I think that a lot of it is attributed to the bigger arenas. I think the crowds, first and second round for sure, like Michigan going to LSU, that has a tremendous impact. Like LSU is selling out, and I don't know, other than Iowa and maybe Indiana this year, maybe how many sellouts you're playing in front of in the Big Ten, and that's just honest. So yeah.
Doing to take a quick moment to thank our sponsor. I'm going to share my screen for everybody. If you haven't checked out our sponsor, Ascent Nutrition, be sure to do that. They've got their new mushroom products, and I'm telling you, folks, if you want a great product that can help your immune system, your overall health, your stress response, check out their lion's mane mushroom. This is goascentnutrition.com, folks, and check out these great mushroom products. Again, this one being one of those products. And they also got their agarikon mushroom, which is used to support respiratory and lung health. Again, all these products can be found by visiting goascentnutrition.com. These mushroom products can be mixed into yogurts, juices, smoothies, cereals, granola, other foods very easily, just like the algae oil DHA we've talked about, the humic and fulvic acid products that Ascent Nutrition highlights. Again, visit goascentnutrition.com. This is the website. And if you use the code Hawkeyes, that's plural, Hawkeyes, you'll get 15% off your order. So we appreciate Ascent Nutrition. Be sure to shop today at goascentnutrition.com. All right. Couple more questions here in the chat for you, Tania. Well, a couple of comments, actually. So Brittany complains about the officials. She said they were terrible. Both teams were complaining. That's how you know it's bad. Barbara says officials were awful again. Ryan says officials are very noticeably bad. I mean, it wasn't as bad as we're making it out to be, because I know when Coach Close comes on this show for the men and people complaining about officiating, he's usually like, I didn't think it was that bad.
Yeah, no, I didn't think it was that bad. I just think that it's the Sweet 16. I think that a little, like, they're going to let a lot more go as opposed to the regular season. This is playoff basketball. I've said that a lot since March has started, to our players, to other people who are watching the games. And so it's just, as a coach and as a fan of women's basketball, we can't ask for equality when it comes to the men's game. Ask for a little bit more, we got to be a little bit more lighter on the calls. Like, why do men get away with this, but we get this foul call on the women's side? And then when we're getting that, we can't complain about it. And so personally, I didn't think that it was that bad. I think we talked about it earlier, that flagrant or intentional foul call, like that should have just been a common foul. So I didn't think it was that bad. I just think that we're in, and like I said, I'm coaching, I see it firsthand. So I just think that we're in an era and a state where people just want foul calls so they can get points. And so it is what it is, but I thought it was okay.
Well, you had what's her face, the whose name escapes me, Frida Foreman fouls out of the game today. Yeah. And let's see, did Quay Miller or Vonleh, did they?
Vonleh fouled out.
So it's not like there were a lot of fouls called in general. I can grab the total here, but I think it's a physical game. I thought there were some missed calls. I will say this: Gabby Marshall takes a beating, and she's not the biggest guard in the world.
She does.
I believe she's lost a tooth. She's had her lip cut. She's been kind of the mini Luka Garza in some respects, taking a beating.
Yeah.
I will say this, and you may tell me I'm wrong on this as well, Tania, but I think back to their last 4 games: Ohio State in the Big Ten championship game, Southeastern Louisiana in the first round of this tournament. You've got Georgia last round, Colorado this round. What has been the common theme in all 4 of those games at the end of those games? What has happened in every single one of those
games? Physicality
and chippiness.
Yeah, that's what. Teams are getting sportsmanships. Teams don't know how to lose with class at this point, and it's sad. It's very sad.
I think I agree with you, and one of our earlier callers brought up the Bowling Green situation in the NIT. There have been in both the men's and the women's game a lot more of that late in games, and I know the handshake issue has been brought up by Fran McCaffrey in the past because of some incidents that have occurred on the men's side. But I will say this, as it relates to the last 4 Iowa women's games, I don't think it's a coincidence at all that those games, that those teams got chippy at the end of each one of those games. And I think that's a good sign if you're Iowa, because I think it shows Iowa is a team, because of how they play, because of the edge they play with, because of how Caitlin Clark carries herself.
Yeah.
I think they're a frustrating team to play.
They are.
And I think that's a good thing. I don't want, you obviously don't want Caitlin Clark to get jacked, Don't get me wrong, but like I think it's a good sign. It shows Iowa's getting under team skin and they're winning these games.
Yep. No, I completely agree with you. Like Iowa, as you watch them, it's like, how would you prepare for them? Okay. Yeah, let's take out Caitlin Clark. Okay, but then now you got to worry about Gabby. You got to worry about McKenna. You got to worry about. It's too many people to worry about, and so it gets to the point where, okay, do I just take out Caitlin and let everyone else go off, or do I take out everyone else and just let Caitlin go off? And so it's just they defeat your game plan every single time, and I commend Iowa, I commend Bluter, I commend everyone so much. They do it every single time with class. Like you're never going to see anyone get chippy back. You're never going to see, whether we win, lose, or draw. Like we're still going to be super competitive.
Caitlin Clark get chippy back tonight.
Yeah, well, yeah. We got Caitlin. She's a little different, but but other than that, like no one else is gonna do, what's been done these past 4 games to Iowa. Like, no, we're not going to do that. If we do that, then we're getting yelled at by Bluter in the locker room. So, no, I don't want to risk that. But like you said, Caitlin is the only one. But outside of that, like, yeah. So
I've said this before tonight, and I'll say it again. As we continue to see that trend, and I do think it is clearly a trend here in postseason play, teams getting chippy with Iowa down the stretch. I do think, and I'm sure this has happened. If it hasn't, my non-coaching experience, this is my one little piece of advice to Lisa Bluter would be to continually remind Caitlin Clark, hey, this is a good sign. We're getting under team skin. I don't mind you going back and forth, but just remember to know when to pull it in, to rein it in, because the last thing we need late in the game when you're up 10 against Colorado in the Elite Eight is for Caitlin Clark to throw an elbow or something, and all of a sudden maybe her status for the next game is in jeopardy. You don't want that, of course. So it's a fine line, right? You balance when you have a player like Caitlin Clark who's so great, and part of why she's so great is because she plays with that chip on her shoulder. She plays with that edge, but you also don't want that to boil over, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely a fine line. And obviously there's a lot of trust there between Bluter and Caitlin, because Bluter lets her walk that line, but Caitlin understands the situation, the time on the clock, the score. And so you always want your best player to have and play with that chip, but you also trust her enough to never cross that line and put the rest of the team in the game in jeopardy. And so as a coach, like I said, Bluter does a great job. She trusts her. Caitlin does a great job of not crossing that line, but I also give it up to her teammates, Kate, Monica, who I see all the time holding her back and, keep her from trying to cross that line and do something that might jeopardize the game for them, for sure.
Appreciate the super chat here from Jason. It says, hello, Erica. I guess he's not talking to tonight. He's talking to somebody in our chat, but appreciate the super chat nonetheless, Jason, and appreciate you supporting the show. Kenton makes a good point. All he heard about was Colorado's defense. They played tough defense, but Iowa scored their average, held Colorado to 77. And again, I think the more impressive stat is the fact that Iowa was able to put up 55%, I believe, from the field. Is that official here for the game? Yeah, 54.5% from the field and 42% from three. Those are impressive numbers against that team tonight, especially away from home. We think about some of the struggles. I equate a lot of this to the men, but the struggles the men have had shooting away from home.
Yeah,
the women have been playing at home for a couple games now. You go on the road, way out to the West Coast, and don't miss a beat on the offensive end.
Right. No, that is super impressive. 55% from the field and then 42 from three. Like that is super impressive against that defense. Obviously, it was a tough defense. You had, I can't remember the point guard's name, up there hounding Caitlin, not allowing her to touch the ball and initiate the offense and having the offense run through someone else. And, that, like I said, that defense, it was definitely tough. They made it hard for Iowa. They had to earn every single thing. But at the end of the day, Bluter and that staff, like they're really, really good at making adjustments. And, the players, they trust Coach Bluter and the adjustments that she make. And so they just go out there and they just play according to the adjustments that were made. But that defense was definitely tough, but kudos to Iowa for making the adjustments and the players for going with it and trusting the game plan.
Yeah, Jalen Sherrod held to 11 points,
Yep.
just one board. She's a tough guard, and she's physical. She's athletic. They handled her well, and you know, I thought Quay Miller got away with a couple of travels. They just have it's a very unique roster, right?
Yeah.
It's made up uniquely with the size, with the length, with the athleticism. But I think the one thing they're lacking is a lot of 3-point shooters. It's hard to win in today's age of college basketball without a lot of gals who can spot up on the outside. They've got one and Frida Foreman, but that's probably the next step in Colorado, maybe pushing to the end of the second weekend or beginning of the third. Bob wants to know, Tania, you were small, but actually it's a comment. You were small, but you played with a lot of moxie. So
I appreciate that. I appreciate that. I prided myself on that, and so I really appreciate that.
Ryan reminds everybody, yes, Iowa representing the Big Ten. How about this, Tania? No Big Ten teams left in the men's or the women's bracket. So, am I right in saying that? I think I'm not speaking out of turn there. So,
no, you're right.
That's not good for the conference, but it's impressive for the Iowa women. There's no question.
No, that's super impressive to just be representing the Big Ten. You know, just getting that recognition out there and then being on the West Coast doing it. It's super impressive. Proud of my Hawks. Obviously, the Big Ten was a very tough conference this year. And so to see Indiana go down, that was kind of tough. And Maryland and all those other guys that made the conference super competitive. It was tough, but I'm proud of my Hawks for representing like I knew they would.
And Barbara wants to know, Tania, who do you think would be a better play for us on Sunday, Ole Miss or Louisville? Somebody asked me this on Twitter at the end of this game. I quickly said Ole Miss because Louisville has been here a lot. They've played in this tournament, gotten to the second weekend, I think, 5 straight years or something crazy like that. So obviously, they bring experience and tenacity. I did not watch the upset of Stanford, but obviously Ole Miss knocking off the Cardinal was impressive, and holding them down offensively like they did is impressive. But what are your thoughts on that potential matchup?
I think I have to go with you on this one. You know, both teams, they play defense. So that's what Louisville and Ole Miss is going to bring to the table. They're going to defend no matter what. We know Ole Miss prides themselves on their defense, but I don't think either team scores well. Obviously, Louisville has Haley Van Lith on the perimeter, so you'll have to worry about that. But I think with Ole Miss, I won't say it'll be an easier game. I just feel as if Iowa, we can fall back into a zone, force them to shoot themselves out of the game. They like to get to the rim, shoot pull-ups. They're not really a outside threat, honestly. And so I think playing Ole Miss, I would personally want to play Ole Miss just because of that aspect. But like I said, they both play defense. They're both going to be tough regardless. But I would definitely say Ole Miss. And then obviously you brought up the great point. You know, Louisville has been there before. Jeff Walsh has been there before. Coach Yo, love her. So happy for her story and, you know, what she's doing and how she's brought Ole Miss up, but she hasn't been there before. Her team has not been there before. Like I said, I think this is their first tournament. And so, you know, all those things play into factor. And so you have Monica, fifth-year senior, who's been here before. You have Kate, who's been here before. She didn't play in the Elite Eight when we went, but you know, she's been in that moment before. And then obviously you have Caitlin, who's just a gamer and a Showtime type player anyway, who's going to rise to the occasion. But I would definitely pick Ole Miss for sure.
We better stop for a second, and I better address something that's in the chat because I'm already getting destroyed. So Barbara says Maryland and Ohio State are still in the tournament. So that's how much when you're on live how much you can blunder. And we've got like a half dozen people ripping me for it. So that's okay. In my defense, Tania didn't call me out for it when I said it. So
no, yeah, you're right. Maryland.
Sorry to the Terrapins. So Maryland's got Notre Dame tomorrow.
Okay.
Ohio State has UConn.
Let's be honest. I just pay attention.
Both those teams will be done tomorrow, Tania.
Yeah, they'll be done tomorrow. So it doesn't really matter. I just pay attention to the Hawks anyway. So
that's right.
It doesn't matter.
On Sunday, Iowa will be the last team in the NCAA tournament. I hope that's the case. I want the Big Ten to do well, but I think I've got Notre Dame and I've got UConn. Certainly UConn.
I really forgot about that.
As well.
I forgot.
Okay, just a couple more things. Last call on the call line, the number on the bottom ticker there, 515-635-1601, our Iowa Smokehouse sponsor, sponsoring our call-in line. I do want to get to a super chat. Actually, it's just a super sticker donation. I can't tell what it is, but thank you, Chris Bacon. Appreciate you being here and for supporting the show. Thanks for sending your dog here as well. And Ryan wants to know, tonight, should Iowa spread out their offense so Caitlin or even Gabby can penetrate or dish the ball more?
No, I don't think so. I think the offense that they have right now, I think it does that. For a round one read and react offense, I think it does that. I think from what I've seen, Coach Bluter and co, they've implemented a lot of high ball screens. They've implemented a 4 flat so Caitlin can attack and penetrate and hit her shooters a little bit more. I don't think that spreading the offense out a little too much, like, I don't think that helps Iowa. In my opinion, I think it hurts Iowa just because it allows the defense to just load up, sit there and wait for Caitlin to penetrate those gaps, stunt and recover really, really quickly to contest a shot. So I don't think that spreading out the offense more, like, I don't think that helps Iowa. I think it hurts them. I think the offense that they have right now is perfect for their personnel.
Tania, have you called Lexi Donarski yet?
No, I have not. I saw her in the portal. I was like, do I want to do it? I know I'm a Hawk. You're a Cyclone, whatever you're
She's
called.
leaving. She's leaving Iowa State. So
I know. It is perfect. I don't know. I'm going back and forth about it. Honestly, I am. I'm going back and forth about it. I saw her in the portal. So
I saw a comment here, and people are wondering what's going on with Iowa State. I know you're a Hawkeye, but it is odd. You know, you have Ashley Jones leaving. You've got Stephanie Soares going to the NBA at 6'6". Yep. I think got a good chance of being a decently high draft pick.
Yeah.
Obviously, her had a difficult season with injury. Mm-hmm. They've had some players now. Morgan Kane, Maggie Vick, Espen Miller-McGraw, and now you've got the situation with Lexi Donarski.
Yeah.
That is, I don't know. I don't know what to think of that. Is there, would you be concerned if you're a Cyclone fan right now?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. We're talking about players who played a lot of minutes and contributed. Lexi Donarski averaged 12.9 points, if I'm not mistaken. And so
yeah.
This is a big part of my offense. This is a big part of Iowa State basketball. And so personally, if I was a Cyclone fan, I would be a little bit worried because it's like, I guess it just depends on who you're bringing in. I'm not 100% sure of their recruiting class, but I mean, just with those names that you just said, you're losing experience and like contributions. And so that's going to be a lot, to make up for. And so I would be a little bit concerned. And I would just, if I was a Cyclone fan personally, and honestly, I would just prepare for a down year because that's what it just looks like it's going to be for the Cyclones.
Some little bit of bias in there in that statement, right? But I mean,
a lot of bias, actually.
Giving me some logic. Like, I mean, I'm a Cyclone fan. I'm looking at saying, ooh, that's not, they just lost Ashley's sister a year ago. And I know she's not Ashley Jones, but they've dealt with some, and transfer portal, as we talked about, is part of the game now. You have to be prepared for it. But I think there's reason for some concern.
Yeah.
Your names. Jet Pilot says, do you know why Hannah didn't play much? I think we both agree. I don't think she's 100%.
Yeah.
If she was 100%, she was probably going to give you at least 15 to 20 minutes in this game. I would think, given their size.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I would say that ankle. I don't think she's 100%. She doesn't trust it yet. And like we mentioned earlier, I don't know if Hannah is ready to embrace just playing through that little bit of pain during the Sweet 16. But like I said, the further they get, I think the more she'll just tough it up herself.
Joe Smith says he's a South Carolina fan, but he thinks there are multiple teams who can win it all. Not a done deal yet. And a reminder that Ole Miss took South Carolina to OT. So South Carolina can be beaten. Now, a reminder to you, Joe, that Iowa's next opponent could be Ole Miss.
Yeah.
So let's actually grab before we log off here, folks, give you an update on Ole Miss and Louisville. It's halftime. Louisville 34, Ole Miss 29.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that should be. You saw the little handshake controversy with Ole Miss's star, or excuse me, Louisville's star player,
Yeah.
whose name escapes me. You might be able to fill me in, but
Haley Van Lith.
Yep, man. So the handshake thing has become all of a sudden that's now coming up more in the women's game. How do you feel about handshake?
Yeah, I mean, personally, it doesn't bother me, but I know some people, like I said, it goes back to winning and losing with class, and I just don't think that some people, respectfully, like are there yet where we can just lose and we can just go through a handshake line and shake hands and go about our day, go separate ways. I think that it's become ridiculous, especially like when we think about last night, the Memphis and who was that game? Who did they play?
Is it the Bowling Green?
Yes, Bowling Green. Bowling Green. When we think about that last night, like I think that is just ridiculous. I just think that what's done in between those lines, like it's basketball. It's not taken with a grain of salt. At the end of the day, we're all there to win basketball games. We're all there to play the game that we love. Like what I do to you on the court, I don't mean anything off the court. I don't know you. And so I just feel like people just need to understand that and just learn how to separate the two and just get feelings and emotions out of that. Like at the end of the day, I love basketball, but it is just a basketball game. It's not life or death. So
good sentiments from Tania Davis, former Hawkeye. And Evan says, loved watching Tania play at Iowa, but listening to her now gives me even more respect. She really knows the game, seems to have an extremely high basketball IQ, and I think her insight is awesome. So
well, thank you, Evan.
From Evan. And yeah, we'll see what happens here tonight. I like Iowa's chances against either one of these teams. I think I would prefer to play Ole Miss, even though I've not watched the Rebels a ton this year. But again, any final thoughts before we kind of wrap this thing up, just on how Iowa preps here over the next day? And I'm sure they're watching this game. They're keeping an eye on this game that's going on in the same court tonight. But just how do you prepare over the next 24 hours?
Rest. Honestly, I think as a coach, if I'm in Iowa's shoes right now, if I'm a coach for Iowa, the team watch the first half, go back to the hotel, get some food, rest, get off your feet. You need to get off your feet 24 hours, like only a day prep. Obviously, it benefit, like it doesn't benefit either one of us because we're both in the same boat, same position. But the first thing that comes to mind is just rest. Like our kids need to rest, get up tomorrow, do a scout, go over the scout, go to practice, get some shots up, walk over their plays, and then get out as soon as possible and get rest. Because at this point of the game, this point of the season, rather, it's all about fresh legs. Let's be honest. It's all about fresh legs. Iowa, we pride ourselves on making threes. So in order for that to happen, we have to have those fresh legs. We want to run fresh legs. And so rest. Watching a ton of film, but rehydrating, staying off your feet and resting for sure.
Michael wants me to go live during and throughout the next game. Well, isn't that the same thing? So I would like to enjoy the game, Michael. Not that I don't enjoy being on here, but this is why we hang out for an hour and a half after the game. So tonight, I appreciate it again. And just to wrap up for everybody, perhaps you missed the game. Hope you didn't. You had a great performance with the Iowa Hawkeyes. 87-77 win for the Hawks. And no surprise here, Caitlin Clark with 31 points on the night to go along with. Let me grab the official box score here as we finish things up here. Caitlin Clark with 31 points to go along with 3 boards, 8 assists for Caitlin Clark, and just 4 turnovers. Those are probably numbers you certainly live with a 31 and 11 of 22 from the field, 4 of 9 from 3. Kate Martin added a nice 16 points, 8 of 11 from the free throw line. She made a couple of threes. McKenna Warnock made an early 3, finished with 12 points to go along with 4 boards. Monica Sanano with 15 and 7. Just 9 field goal attempts for Monica, but efficient numbers as always from Iowa's veteran center. Gabby Marshall added 7 points, 3 of 6 from the field, 1 of 4 from 3. Also 3 assists and no turns for the experienced shot maker who will be back next year. And then we mentioned Hannah Stolke, just a minute and a half of game action. We'll see if she plays more in the Elite Eight. I think she's still dealing with the ankle.
Yeah.
Sydney Falter gets 3.5 minutes tonight as well. Molly Davis played 6. Addison O'Grady gives them 11. Her minutes were huge. She was 2 of 2 from the free throw line. Battled for a couple of boards. They're going to need her if Stolke continues to stay down and as they continue to face size. Certainly, if South Carolina comes rolling along, and there's, as you said, there's nobody can match up with their size and athleticism.
Yeah.
But you need all the size you can get, especially if you're without Hannah Stolke in that game. We hope that's not the case, and we hope you can get there, be able to have that discussion. But Addison O'Grady stepped up today, so. Appreciate everybody being here, folks. And again, a reminder, Iowa versus the winner of Ole Miss Louisville, which is currently at halftime over on ESPN. It's 34-29. Louisville leading the Rebels of Ole Miss. Again, at halftime, out in Seattle right now, being televised on ESPN. So again, Sunday night will be the tip-off time at 8 p.m. Central Time for the Hawks in the Elite Eight, regardless of opponent. 8 p.m. Central Time on ESPN. And I will be with you live following the game for Iowa Postgame right here from the Hawkeye of the Storm. One final shout out to Iowa Smokehouse. We talked about them earlier. But again, if you have not done so, be sure to check out their awesome products. They are available in your local grocery stores. But certainly check them out online because you can get a great deal through this show. Use that code Hawkeye, singular, Hawkeye, for 15% off at iowasmokehouse.com. They've got great products. They're beef jerky, their flavorful meat sticks, their delicious steak bites. Tasting is believing with Iowa Smokehouse. And, of course, who doesn't need great snacking for March Madness? And as we head into baseball season, perhaps you're a big baseball fan. I know opening night has been promoted up and down. So, again, visit iowasmokehouse.com for great deals on great products. All right, Tania, we appreciate the time as always. Well, I should say as always. I'm so accustomed to saying that with Coach Close. This is your first time on the show. You are welcome back here anytime. It's been a pleasure to catch up with you, and hopefully we'll get you back and we'll talk about, I don't know. So I guess sky's the limit now. We're heading into the Elite Eight and hopefully beyond.
Yeah, absolutely. Whenever you want to have me back, hey, I would love to come back whenever. I appreciate you having me. Like I said, whenever you want me back, I'd love to come back.
We appreciate it, Tania. For Coach Tania Davis, I'm Corey Braddock from the Hawkeye of the Storm. This show will be logged on our podcast platforms later tonight. Stay tuned. We'll be back with you Sunday following Iowa in the Elite Eight. Take care.